and welcome to part 4 in my Jazz Blues Lessons series. I wanted to do this lesson on the dominant bebop scale. This is a scale that I use over any dominant chord. There's no dominant chord that exists where you can't use it. So it differs from like my past lesson, the altered scale, where you can only use it when the chord is about to resolve in a certain way. The dominant bebop scale you can use over any dominant chord. So if you want a place to start as far as learning lines, like if you can't play any lines, this is probably the best place to start because you can just use it all over everything. Okay, so here is an F mixolydian scale, which is the scale that most people would think of first for the F7 chord at the beginning of this blues. But there's a problem with it, and the problem is this. There is a rule that I use when playing lines, and that rule is that the chord tones have to fall on the beat. When the chord tones start falling on the offbeats, and you're playing a line and then the notes that pop out at you on the beat are the tensions, it starts to sound really awkward. And here I have circled in blue all of the chord tones, and you'll notice that although I started on a chord tone, on the F, I end up, by the second beat, playing all of my tensions on the offbeats and my chord tones on the beats. So I started in the right place, but then the scale itself, the nature of the scale, threw me off because there's no note in between the root and the seventh to take the place of that offbeat. And that is a problem because it sounds really awkward. So what do? I put a note in there. There's a passing tone. I put an E natural in there, and this is, by definition, an F7 bebop scale. So here you can see I have circled again in blue all of my chord tones, and they fall very nicely on the beat. All right, so now you see how I derive the bebop scale, and I just want to say a couple rules to using it. If you're starting on an offbeat, you need to start on a tension so that the on beats will be chord tones. Or if you're starting on the beat, obviously start on a chord tone. This is a scale I use to play linear lines, so I'm not skipping around unless I'm playing an arpeggio, which I played lots of arpeggios in the intro of this video. But I'm not going to cover how and what arpeggios to use in this video because it would get too long. But just know, you'll see it in the transcription at the end of this video. I throw in lots of arpeggios. There are certain arpeggios that I use or don't use, but I'll cover that in a future video. So for now, do not skip any notes. Just play this scale straight through, and you have to start in the right spot to get it to sound good. Now I'm going to show you how I actually visualize this on the fretboard while I'm playing. So here is, I chose this F mixolydian shape. It's up on the 8th fret. That filled in, the root is filled in, and that is on the 8th fret. It's like C minor Dorian also, if you want to think of it that way. But here I have circled in blue all of the chord tones. So these are the chord tones that need to be on the beat. And now the passing tone. I circled it in red. That's the note that you need to add to keep those notes on the beat when you're playing lines. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a good idea of how I'm thinking on the fretboard. I have done this for all 5 shapes up and down the fretboard. So yeah, I guess you can do that for the rest of them once you get this one down. But to start out, just keep it in one area of the neck so that you can really get it under your fingers. All right, so here is the transcription, and stay tuned for lesson 5. I will teach you how I am putting these arpeggios in there, what arpeggios I'm using, and how to use them. So anyway, thanks for watching.